you grew up in California, and I know because I've met you. You were 5'2" and about 175 pounds when you were in school.
Yeah, yeah, that's about right.
This is No Excuses with John Taffer.
I really want to talk about how you became you because your story fascinates me and is such an inspiration to me, and I know so many other people. So, can I go back in your life for a couple of minutes?
Yeah, please.
So, you grew up in California, and I know because I've met you. You were 5'2" and about 175 pounds when you were in school.
Yeah, yeah, that's about right.
And people made fun of you, right? Mimicked you, if you
Yeah.
will. I don't want to put words in your mouth. I want to tell the story correctly. And at some point in your life, something triggered you to say enough, and you completely changed your lifestyle. Would you tell me about that moment?
Well, to be honest, my mom had gotten me into martial arts when I was 12. And it wasn't because she was being proactive about my weight. I think that she felt like her and my father were going through kind of a crazy divorce, and she wanted me to have an outlet. So I get into karate at that age, and for the first time, I was around individuals that were very supportive of me. Most were grown-ups or older teenagers, and of course, there was no bullying in that environment, and it was the first time that I felt accepted in a social setting where I wasn't being picked on. So I was motivated by a group of supportive individuals, but over time, my martial arts instructor worked on me and educated me about food and fitness. And then the day came where I showed up with a bag of Cheetos. And I want to say I was like 13. And I mean, he lost it on me and basically was like, I can't care more than you do. If you're not going to pick up what I've been laying down, I don't want to waste my energy and I don't want to waste my time. Go home, call your mom, tell her to come get you, go home.
Wow.
And yeah, so I called her on her little car phone because it was like, I don't know, 1989 or whatever. I'm not. And she came back, got me. And to make a very long story short, as I thought about what he said and the loss of, his mentorship and that environment was so great that it got me into martial arts. And that's kind of what really turned me around.
Were you disciplined before that?
Oh, God, no, not at all.
So
Not
not in any aspect of your life. So really, martial arts pulled a desire for you to be more disciplined. Is that fair?
it gave me a sense of confidence and strength. So, hence the reason that I utilize fitness as a tool to empower people because when you're strong physically, it transcends into other facets of your life. And when you're kind of in an environment where you don't have a choice but to be disciplined, and then all of a sudden you see you can be disciplined, it opens up an infinity of possibilities regarding what you think you're capable of.
Did you know that you would be in the physical training industry at that point in your life? Did you know it would always be a part of you? What?
Oh, absolutely not. I fell into it um, completely. I was training for my black belt when I was 17.
Wow.
Uh, and people would come up to me at the gym and ask me how much I charged. For a little while, I was like, for what? And I was like delivering pizza for $5 an hour.
And you were a bartender, I believe, right?
I had gotten a little fake ID when I was like 19, and was bartending at night and training during the day. And my mom got me my first little training certification. So I started that at around like maybe when I just turned 18 years old. And I just fell into it.
Wow. So obviously you fell into it. You started to love it, and I find it fascinating how you've built such a powerful media career around being so who you are. And as one who's had reality TV, and you know that for about 8 or 9 years, I've had my shows. Uh, 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 the only way to be successful in the television business is to really be authentic.
Yes, completely.
And
That is
and
the answer.
and you and I have had the same production companies, and we've had similar issues over our careers. And often television production encourages people like you and I, Jillian, to not be who we are.
Yeah,
And
I know.
when we I know you know, and when we resist those moments and become unauthentic to ourselves, that's the worst television we could ever do.
Oh my God, it's disastrous. Not even just. I think it's a great metaphor for life.
It
It's like
is.
some of the worst experiences I've ever had were when I didn't trust my God and I wasn't doing what I truly thought was right.
So with me, and I think you'd agree, the reason why the two of us have lasted so long on television is that we do stay authentic to ourselves, and that authenticity frustrates others sometimes, but
I
I believe it tends to keep viewers, and it also keeps us honest, which you are very honest. So,
agree.
okay, so now you ease into the personal training business, and you open your first facility in Beverly Hills. What was it,
Yeah.
Sky Sport and Spa in Beverly Hills? So, how did you? You know, I'm a business guy. How did you get the money and the capital and the plan? And talk to me about opening your first business because that's
Oh my
exciting.
God. Oh my gosh, man. I was so scared. So it actually between 17 and 29, which is when I finally got that place open, I had a moment in my mid 20s at about 24 where I got very caught up in the shoulds of life. You know, you should have
Yes.
a real job, you should. So I end up segueing into the entertainment industry first as a PA, then in the mailroom, then an assistant. And then I ended up becoming a little junior agent at a place called ICM, International
Yep.
Creative Management. And to make a very long story short, I've never been less happy and I've never made less money. And I end up with my personality being what it is,
Yep.
getting blackballed, like, oh, she's never going to work again. So I'm 27 and I'm like broke, lost. I get back into training. But the time at ICM allowed me to build a very high end clientele. So I get back into training, and these people knew me as being very fit, and they started working out with me. And I start working at a sports medicine facility, and I realized that I built that individual's entire clientele, and I could do it myself. And I like maxed out all my credit cards. I had clients that acted as angel investors.
Uh,
um, I had a lot of people basically take a real leap of faith on me and bet on me, and even our landlord, taking the chance on a commercial lease because I
yeah.
had a business partner was kind of a miracle. And by hook or crook, we started the business with like $100,000. And it ended up working. And then a year later, I ended up on Biggest Loser and sold my half of that business.
Wow. So it's a wonderful story for everybody. So you were down at that point.
Oh my God.
You had
So,
gotten
yeah.
your butt kicked, and you licked your wounds. You stood up, and
Yeah.
and you took a more aggressive route than you had even prior to being knocked down.
Oh man, yeah, pretty much. But I always say that like a bad day for your ego is a good day for your soul, right? Like
Yeah, I agree.
it forces you, to kind of it would at rock bottom. J.K. Rowling, right? Best place to build a foundation for the rest of your life. Like it forces you to kind of put up or shut up. You don't have a choice.
Yeah, it does. It corners you into reality for sure.
Yes, that's exactly right. Thank you for saying. That's exactly how I should have said it. That's it.
So you became really accomplished, and I want everybody to know this. So you got training certificates from the National Exercise and Sports Trainers Association, the Aerobics and Fitness Association of America, a Kettlebell Concept Certified, AFAA. You hold Nutrition and Wellness Consultant Certificate with American Fitness Professionals and Associates. I mean, for people who think that you're just who you are because of
Keep me
television and cameras. Yeah,
I know.
they should
God,
know that you are a serious person and the real deal, and that you know exactly what you're doing, whether there's a camera present or not. And
yeah. You and I come from a time where people actually did the jobs that they got hired to be on
yes,
TV for. Like now it's an Instagram world and it's a little bit different, and a lot of people in those mediums are not professionals. But yeah, I mean, I was a trainer, like one-on-one with clients since I was 17. I owned a sports medicine facility. I'm a black belt. I hold all the certifications. I do
yeah.
continuing education for trainers, and it's just, yeah, it is what I do. It's what I do.
So what I loved about your kit and reading and learning about you was the way you came back to Biggest Loser is such a force. And it's interesting how you left the show,
Yeah.
and the show was impacted by your departure, and then you came back, and there had to be some real gratification, or what I call audience flattery, in the fact that your departure from the show had an impact upon the show, that the audience, in fact, loved you.
I think that I believe with Biggest Loser that it was a dynamic, and it was just the right blend of like yin and yang with Bob and I think Allison Sweeney just kind of being like the anchor to take you through the beats of the show, and then all the contestant stories were also fabulous.
Yep.
But when you take out a main ingredient of a recipe, it's not going to taste the same.
And it didn't.
And how Hollywood is. It's like
Yep.
forever about trying to teach you a lesson
Yeah.
and not let you be bigger than the show or build your own brand. And it just was a constant conflict and a nightmare, which is such a shame because I believe truly that if the producers and the network would listen, that show would still be on today, just like Big Brother and Survivor. But
Well,
egos get involved.
they do, and of course, any show like that allows people to feel so good and based upon accomplishment that they themselves can relate to, I think is a show that can run forever, because the feelings that you get in that show, again, are so transferable to our own personal lives that it just registers. And even my bar rescue show, at the end of the day, bar rescue is about people. It's just a bar
Oh yeah.
environment. You're dealing with a weight environment, I'm dealing with a bar environment, but at the end of the day, we're changing human behavior. And if
Yeah.
we don't do that, we fail. And you're a master of it, and you do it in ways that you and I do it similarly. Sometimes we shame them to be real.
Yeah.
Sometimes we appeal to their pride, right? Don't you want to look great for your husband or your kids, or you don't, right? And we appeal to their pride. Sometimes we work fear.
Yeah.
You're gonna die if you don't fix this.
100%.
You're gonna lose your life and we use all of these things, which sometimes the viewer thinks is mean in the moment. But boy, Jillian, I understand you because you and I do this for a living. What you're doing is you're trying, and I'm guessing you're just like me, you're trying to find which of those triggers is going to make this
Yes,
person
is gonna make
change.
them move. You got it.
So,
And we also have, I think what people don't understand, and I've said for years, is you and I are working in a dire situation. You're dealing with bankruptcy for the
yeah,
most part,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Like I'm dealing with physical wellness and life or death. So we're talking about a very serious situation on a ticking clock.
that's right.
And you can't get this person to move and hit certain benchmarks at an accelerated pace. There is no hope for them.
Yeah,
And to me, it was never about like, oh, I want you to like me. Or I want America to like me. I was very focused on getting this person to hit those benchmarks before that clock ran out. And so I know you of all people actually understand.
I do. And for me, I have 4 days. And there's this, I say it, boy, it's funny to have this conversation with you. I have this clock ticking in the back of my head. And if I don't get them to a certain point after the first day, the second day, the third day,
Yes.
I'm going to fail. So
Yep.
I hope I'm going to get that hug at the end, because it's going to get ugly between now and then. And I just hope I get the hug at the end and they realize that I meant well. But that clock doesn't stop for us for a second, Jillian. And it's interesting how reality TV works that way, because that's not real, that clock.
That's
You and I would have more time in life.
That's what I've said 1,000 times. I'm like, you realize that in everyday life, if you're in the gym and you do happen to be with somebody who is 500 pounds, or you do happen to be working with somebody who's on the verge of complete financial destruction, like the hope is that you at least get a month, 3 months, a year to stick with them, to turn them around. Like a therapist can gradually help somebody come to terms with something. We don't have that luxury.
No.
And, for me, it was like, okay, number one, I need them to have a rock bottom moment where they're no longer in this kind of comfortable numb, and they appreciate that the way they've been living is far more painful
Yep.
than the fear and the work associated with where they need to go. They need to
Boy.
take responsibility, because if they continue to play a victim, then they're fundamentally disempowered to change. And at one point or another, by hook or crook, they need an accomplishment in that gym, whether it's I ran a half a mile or I did my first push up, because it allows me to say, look, this is the reality of achievement and accomplishment. You were successful here. You did something you didn't think you could do. So, what else is possible? It kind of shatters those limitations of perceived competency, right? Like, what else
Oh,
is what else am
completely.
I capable of?
So you
And
and
that's
I
it.
go at this exactly the same way. It's fascinating. But that compressed time, as fake as that is, creates unbelievable reality. And what
Yeah.
people should understand is Jillian and I are placed on this artificial stage. Time
Oh,
is compressed, there's cameras around us. But in those moments, what happens is completely real. And it's the cast reacting to the pressure. It's Jillian and I reacting to the pressure. It's Jillian realizing, oh my God, I'm going to run out of time. This
yeah.
person is not going to succeed, and pushing harder and harder and harder. It's incredible how real it becomes in that unreal environment. Don't you agree?
Yeah. Because that's what you're given.
Yeah,
I mean, it's very
it's true.
Hunger Games-esque, but the problem is, like, is it ideal? Of course not. But that's what you're given, and that's what they're given. So
We
there
work
were
with it.
times where it was a blessing, right? Because without that opportunity, you can't jumpstart somebody's engine.
Yeah.
But is it ideal for the long run? No. And there's been so much flack over the years with Biggest Loser contestants of, yeah, well, they gained their weight back. And it's like, you realize 95% of the people that lose weight or quit smoking start again, drink again, smoke again, gain it back, because the issues are emotional.
Yes.
And so I do think, like, it's you can get to some of them, and you're not going to win with all of them, and the time doesn't help, but at least you have an opportunity to get to some of them and help some of them,
And I
and
feel the
that's the
same.
win.
And I feel the same. I track at about 70% success from failures.
And
Do,
that's
do,
huge.
do you know it? When the lights turn off and the show wraps, do you know who's going to make it and who isn't? Or who's going to retain their weight loss and who's not?
Yeah,
Me too.
usually.
Me too. I can
Yeah.
I can call it almost every time, and it's
Yeah.
interesting how we feel it. We know when what has happened with them has is behavioral, or what has happened with them is truly inspirational and within them. More in
Yeah.
their character than their behavior, if you will.
That's it. It's so true. And I can only speak to weight, right? But when somebody is eating so much that they're, 200-300 pounds overweight, it's not because they love Twinkies, right? And it's not because they're lazy. It's because this behavior
Yeah.
has afforded them something very significant for years and years and years, whether it's a connection to a loved one, whether it's control, whether it's defense, who knows?
Yep.
But giving that up is psychologically terrifying.
Yeah.
And whether or not they're going to be able to make that sacrifice and deal with all the wounds that weight loss is going to bring to the table. And some of them need, years of therapy to get through that. Like, you can teach them diet, you can teach them exercise, but you can't take that pain away. Some you can help, some you can't. And that's the reality of, like, what, weight loss, to be fair, um, and weight gain.
I always say that people like you and I, we have to change. We can't just change what they do. We have to change the way they think.
Yes.
And
Yes.
that's our biggest challenge, because you can do that with me over weeks and weeks. You can, we can work together. You can just keep feeding me information and data and logic and reasons and motivations, and you can start to change the way I think. We both know that because we do that in our real non-TV lives.
Yeah.
The challenge is, can we really make somebody think different in just a few days? And that to me is the biggest challenge of my TV work, and I'm sure you agree. Didn't it make you better as a trainer? Because when we got good at it in such condensed and emotional situations, don't you think we're better at it now in more normal situations with that experience?
I would say absolutely. It definitely forces you to hone your craft, right?
Yep.
And become meticulous about the steps and your system and your program.
Yep.
Because you just, as you said, you don't have a choice, and you see very quickly, like, what works and what doesn't, and which approach to take and which tool to pull from the toolbox to use
Yeah.
on which problems. And I think, yeah, you're absolutely right. When you're put in that, it's like forged by fire, you
Yes.
know,
Yes.
you're that much stronger and smarter, in my opinion.
Yeah, and you learn to think on your feet. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, let's put TV and training aside and everything. I know that you're involved in a lot of charities, and I know that you're big on animal welfare causes, as am I. So
Oh.
I'd love to talk to you about what are the things that so occupy your time and your heart when you're not working on the things that we all know you for.
Over the years, when it comes to charity, I have pretty much not had an identity. And what I mean by that is like I don't align with one specific charity. It's like animals, kids, cancer.
Yep.
Like, yeah, what do you need? I mean, I just, you get the request, you do it. Like, hey, we want you to meet with Mayor de Blasio about carriage horses in New York, and I'm like, okay, or
Sure.
like, you get very focused on certain campaigns that certain charities ask for help with, whether it's
Yeah.
the Alliance for a Healthier Generation, which is helping kids become more active and more fit, or Stand Up to Cancer, or the Dave Thomas Foundation, helping raise awareness
Yep.
about children in foster care and trying to get more people to adopt out of foster care. Uh, for me, I feel that that another quote, right? To whom much is given, much is required.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So,
And it's a
it,
responsibility to leverage your
yes.
celebrity in a way. I'm just like you, by the way. I'm on the board of a Keep Memory Alive, which is an Alzheimer and our Cleveland Clinic of Nevada, and involved in a number of boards like that. But to me, it's not my identity. When somebody calls, if I think I can make a difference, I'll say yes, and I'm guessing you're the same way.
Yeah, I will. If I think I can be helpful, and
Yeah.
only recently have I just gotten involved with the UNHCR, which is the United Nations Refugee Agency.
Mm.
And this I'm hoping to like really do a deeper dive on. So we're planning a trip to the Congo, actually, the Democratic
Wow.
Republic of the Congo in March. And they've been giving me like a pretty thorough, intense education on the refugee crisis globally. And the goal is to
It's bigger
become
than ever.
like, oh man, it's 70 million people all around the world.
Yeah.
It's devastating. And there's so much misinformation
About them.
out there about these individuals and their struggles and who they really are and what they're really running from and what the solutions could potentially be. And so that to me is something that I really would like to be well versed on and very outspoken and see if I can, do more than a Facebook campaign. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
I do. I do.
or
Well,
just write a check, it's like that. And that's something that I'm very focused on for 2019.
well, if I can be helpful, please let me know. That's certainly a great purpose, and
Thank
there's a
you.
lot of suffering, and we got to put faces on these people so people understand it.
Yes.
I
And
think
tell
it's
their
really important.
stories.
Absolutely. And
Exactly.
when people don't know the story, they don't relate to it. It's
Not at all.
absolutely. I agree. Okay, I have two questions here that actually came from listeners, and the first one we sort of talked about. You push people to their fullest potential. Who pushes you? Do you push yourself?
God, I mean, I do, but it does take outside individuals to really pinpoint when you're engaged in destructive behavior, right? Like
Yeah.
whether it's in relationships, or really, which is where I could use the most work at this point in my life, is trying to grow as a person,
Yeah.
with regard to being more vulnerable and, you know, though that's really my Achilles heel, I would say, at this point in my life.
It's
So,
interesting as a celebrity and as somebody. It's funny. You're 5'2", but you're bigger than life to so many people, right?
I know.
Because of television and the hero shots and the imagery and the and yeah, I have this. I'm sure you and I relate on this issue. Sometimes it's hard to be the Jillian Michaels that everybody expects you to be. Sometimes you want to let your hair down. You want to have some sweats. There might be a day where, son of a gun, you're going to take a bite of a piece of chocolate cake, and if anybody ever sees that, they're going to go crazy on you. So, do you
Okay.
agree that that puts a pressure on us? Uh, uh,
Oh man,
it's
I would say
tough.
that it's basically like living with a target on your back. It really is. Like that's what being a public figure is. And, it's a blessing and it's a curse
Yeah.
because, you get up to run your race every single day, just like everybody else. But when you're so busy playing defense
Yeah.
that you rarely get to play offense and do so much of the things you love because you're so busy fending off bullshit attacks and
Yep.
haters. And it's just that it comes with the territory, but yeah, it can be grueling.
So what I love about you is you are tough. And in your bio, and I've never seen this before, this is how honest you are. There's a section on controversy. You're going to laugh. In your bio, and I love the story of you were the subject of a critical article in the LA Times. Where they actually said you're not a real fitness trainer, your
God, yeah.
certification, and you stood up and you said, "No way." And
Yeah.
would you tell me that story? Because that's a great story
Oh my
about just
God.
sticking up for yourself.
Yeah, it was God, it was years ago now, but somebody wrote like an op-ed piece in the Los Angeles Times saying that I was an actress, not a trainer. And so we turned around and I was like, no, no, we're not going to, because a lot of people are like, let it go, let it go. And
Yep.
it's like, it's real dangerous to let that stuff go. I'm
Well,
not
they're
going to lie.
calling you a fake, in
Yeah, it's
essence.
real dangerous to try to you got to be very strategic about what you rise above and what you deal with. And in my opinion, this is the Los Angeles Times and it's questioning my credibility and my credentials. So we said we're going to sue you. And then we provided them with all the information. You have all the certifications and all the years and then they printed like a, retraction
Yeah.
on buried it somewhere. But it got out that they printed the retraction. And people just do that. That's what they do. Or they like there was a lawsuit over supplements that I had that were like all organic. Like it was essentially like a pre-workout. And it was like, hey, it was caffeine, vitamin C, green tea, all these antioxidants. And so we got sued by a competitor who never bought the product. It was a class action lawsuit claiming like, oh, the supplements kill people. And to make a long story short, it turns out they never bought the product. All the cases were dismissed. But it doesn't matter, right? Nobody prints that story.
Yeah.
So you have to fight every single one of these things. And Dr. Phil, whether you like the guy or not, sat me down once and he's like, you have to fight all of this because at the end of the day, the Sue Jillian line gets a lot shorter when you take these things on one by one because people don't want to tangle with you when you fight back. And I just believe you have to defend yourself. It's critical.
You do. And I know Phil well, as I know you do. And there's a lot of wisdom that I've picked up from Phil over the years, for sure.
Absolutely.
You ever hear his term BTB?
No.
Beneath the brand. BTB, beneath the brand. And he's very big on that whole element of brand positioning, and he's certainly a bright guy. Jillian, this has been a pleasure. I hope we can do it again soon, because
I would love that.
I've always loved what you have represented to me and to our country. And then when I got to meet you a couple of years ago and stand next to you and laugh, I think we had cocktails or a glass of wine or something in our hands, and got to laugh and look in your eyes, I really saw somebody on a personal level who I connected with and thought was terrific. And I wanted this interview to show the personal side of you. You notice we haven't talked that much about the specifics of weight loss or discipline, but I wanted everybody to learn, honestly, and I hope I don't make you blush, just how terrific you are. And what an inspiration you are personally to everyone. And I know you have 2 young daughters, right?
One boy, one girl. 6
One
and
boy,
8.
one girl. I have a question for you, just as a dad. How do you deal with children and travel?
Oh God, dude. I schlep them. And I take them every moment that I'm home. So literally it's like every single day that I'm home, I have the kids.
Right.
And then some of the time I'll take turns like schlepping one and then schlepping the other.
Yeah.
And it's not ideal. My daughter just went with me to like New York and Toronto for like 4 days.
Wow.
And, she was on her iPad a lot and we did her homework like on lunch breaks. But I think it's better than nothing, and you just do the best you can, and you make the time you have with them the best quality, and that hopefully makes a difference.
Well, my daughter's 30, and I just learned a couple weeks ago, she's going to kill me for saying this, that I'm about to be a grandfather.
Oh, congrats.
So that's a really cool thing for me. But, it's interesting. I traveled all those years when she was growing up, and we didn't have fax machine. I mean, we didn't have FaceTime and things like that. She would fax me her homework when I was in Asia, And I would wake up at 5 in the morning, which was 5 in the afternoon her time, and do her homework with her over the phone every day. And, I want parents to know this. With all the travel and all the work and the television commitments and everything, you're close to your kids, aren't you?
Yeah, of course. I mean, they're what makes the world go around, right?
Yeah. So,
That they're the number one thing.
so travel should not get in the way of those things. And for people like Jillian and I and those parents who really don't want it to, you figure out a way to stay close to your kids, even when you're miles away.
Yeah.
Anyway, Jillian, thank you. This was a blast. Where can people find you? Of course, you have your podcast, which is an incredible podcast, which you've won a bunch of awards for. Congratulations.
Oh, thanks.
And
Thank you.
where can people find you?
Yeah, my website. That's where you can learn about like our app, our books, and all that stuff. It's just JillianMichaels.com.
Great. Well, I'm going to go there, and I hope we get to see you soon.
Thank you, man. Have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Appreciate it.
If you love my No Excuses podcast, hit subscribe at Apple Podcasts, go to podcastone.com or the Podcast One app, and you'll get your new episodes every Tuesday morning.